Step inside the 35,000 square foot arena at Dolly Parton Stampede and experience the high-spirited adventure, a live entertainment spectacle featuring our exciting state-of-the-art visual sets, thrilling horse riding stunts, spectacular special effects, and stirring musical productions, all while enjoying a fabulous four-course feast.
It's the most fun place to eat in the Smokies, I guarantee it.
Go to dpstampede.com for reservations and information.
The nation is buzzing after Rihanna's halftime show during Super Bowl 57 in Arizona. She took the stage yesterday for her first live performance in 5 years, coming out floating above the field on a suspended platform while singing some of her greatest hits, including Wild Thoughts, Work, and Diamonds. The Grammy Award winner was also surrounded by an enormous crew of backup dancers who were decked out in white puffer tracksuits. The performance also stirred up rumors she was pregnant with her second child, which was later confirmed by a representative. Eminem's former body double, Ryan Shepherd, has died after an accident. According to the Tri-City Herald, on January 31st, he was hit by a pickup truck as he was crossing a street in Washington State. He was taken to a hospital where he later died. On top of being M's stunt double, he appeared as the rapper's superhero alter ego, Rap Boy, at the 2002 MTV Movie Awards, and he also went on tour with Shady Records in 2002 for the Anger Management Tour. Ryan Shepherd was 40 years old. And the third in a series of films starring Channing Tatum as a male stripper is this week's top movie in North America. Magic Mike's Last Dance earned $8 million in its debut weekend at Theater $1 million. Well, that's entertainment. Steve Greenfield, NBC News Radio.
WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key. Home of Southern Sports and Talk. Noonan, Sharpsburg, Franklin.
You're listening to At Home with Allison, your local expert on real estate, business, and community.
All right, it's WQEE 99.1 FM. This is Allison, local realtor and member of the Coweta County community. This is the At Home with Allison show, and this is episode 2. I have my very first guest here, and this is really awesome. It was a little hard last week doing it just by myself. I was like, this is going to be so boring. People aren't going to want to tune into this. So, yeah, I'm sorry for those that had to listen. But hopefully you got a lot of good information from it. And I'm looking forward to covering what we're covering today because mold's a big deal. And I have a little bit of past experience with this myself. I have people that are really close to me that have dealt with mold, and it actually physically affect their body. I was unaware of mold in a living space that I was in, and I was a renter. And there was a lot that unfolded from that, and there was a lot of just misconceptions on my end that I didn't even know about mold that I feel like I really should have been aware of. And then when it was brought to my attention, I was like, wow, this is actually a really big deal. This is something that I should be aware of, especially as a realtor, because I'm guiding people into home buying. I'm being a resource for people that are homeowners, and then I can't even, fully express to them how important this is. So it's going to be really, really good information today, guys. You have no idea how big this can be for you if you have mold in your home, even if you don't, and how to prevent it. We're going to be going over all of that today. So right here with me, I have Tricia Bethel-Sookhoo with the Mold Man, and Tricia's going to tell a little bit about the business and the Mold Man. The Mold Man is one of our preferred vendors here at the Keller Williams Noonan office, and we work with them a lot. I say all the time that I can't even think of another mold person. There's no one else that comes to mind when it's time for a mold inspection. I think of Tricia, and I think of the Mold Man. So, Tricia, who is the Mold Man? What's the story?
So the Mold Man started in 2017 when our founder, Andrew Wood, found mold while he was working as a home inspector. Surprisingly enough, I bet you didn't know that story.
No.
He realized that most realtors didn't have anyone to tell those clients about the issue.
Yeah.
And he decided he wanted to make sure everybody knew about it and help realtors then to get to the closing table once the home inspector found mold. So that was the whole story where it really started. And the company itself, we pride ourselves in protecting families in the community from the dangers of mold. Andrew he gets very sad when he hears that people are living in conditions that affect their health, as you know firsthand, in those conditions, but then always takes pride in the fact when he hears that because we have corrected the problem that their health gets better.
Right.
So that's the big thing. And our company core values are integrity, hard work, and if anybody has heard the word Semper Gumby, we're always flexible.
Okay.
Can you believe that?
That's
kind of fun. So we offer mold remediation, interior, specializing in crawl spaces, basement waterproofing, all those kinds of things that people come across in their homes that may affect their health.
How many people are on y'all's team?
We have a team of 5.
Okay.
Can you believe that?
So
Just
there's five
of us right now that do it all.
And what are the different roles? What roles do you guys each play?
Miranda Wood is our marketing. She's like our CEO and marketing guru.
Okay.
Many of the local realtors have seen her around town. I am in charge of the sales process. I'm the sales guru, quoter. I'm the one that crawls under the houses and looks for mold, or up in attics or in basements and all those things. So I enjoy that part of it. And then Andrew's our operations guy.
Okay.
He's the one, and he has a team, a couple people that help him out to get that done. So.
Okay, so you actually enjoy getting under the houses?
I love it. A little bit about me. I came out of the hotel industry for nearly 25 years. I was a catering sales manager, and I love the fact that I had something different every day in the hotel industry because life was just crazy all the time, something new every day. And that's what this offers me.
Yeah.
I never know what I'm going into. Crawling underneath a house. Just yesterday, I found a snake skin.
Oh.
I didn't find a snake, thank goodness.
Oh.
But I found a snake skin.
Yeah, that's a little scary. So you run into rodents and other things when you're under there sometimes?
Thank goodness.
Not live ones.
No.
Just dead ones.
Andrew always teases, hey, I can't wait till the day that you come eye to eye to a snake. I hope I don't. That's the one thing
I hope you don't either, or a bed of them. I mean, you never know, right?
Right.
So you said you came from the hotel event industry. What were the main traits that you feel like you carried on from having that job into the job you're doing now?
I have to tell you, I always took pride in customer service.
Okay.
I demand and really enjoy taking care of the customer. I want to make sure people are educated about what's going on, how they can correct it, the best way to resolve it, what it might affect later, and how they can then make sure it doesn't happen again. I'm all about the customer, making sure that everybody is safe, and I feel like I bring value to people that way.
Sure.
And that's a personal thing of mine.
Yeah, and that's what I think is really cool about the Mold Man and companies like these is that mold can be overlooked by people so easily. Even home inspectors or landlords, homeowners, we can be so like, oh, it's just mold, it's not a big deal, or people that come along might not be able to educate you enough or really care about you enough as a person or as a family to say, hey, look, this is really serious, and if you don't take care of this, not only is it going to be extremely expensive for you to get fixed, but it's going to cause a lot of physical possibly even damage, but physical reaction, allergies and other stuff. We'll get into that type of stuff later, but a little bit, for me, I was living in an apartment, and my sister was having physical symptoms, and for about 6 months, and I was too. I would wake up with like a little raspy throat, my nose would kind of be burning in the morning, and I just thought maybe I just have allergies, but I'd never had allergies before. And my sister was having serious symptoms, though. I mean, she was having physical, like, body aches and, like, a weird pain in her stomach, and she was constantly feeling dizzy and nauseous and other things like that. And she had all the tests run. I mean, anything that you can think of. She had all the blood testing, she went to an immune specialist that looked into immune and autoimmune disorders and things like that. And it got to a point where I was even telling Tricia, kind of like leading up to this, because someone brought it to our attention that it could be mold. And when we looked further into it, we had a test. Now, this is interesting. I know you don't do like the testing part, but there's different types of tests too. And we had one done that showed that there was really high counts of mold in the house. But this was the problem, is that just because there's high counts of mold in the house doesn't mean the type of mold that it is actually dangerous. So we instantly, we had to get further testing done. But moral of the story is that it was concluded that at some point we ended up finding out that the mold wasn't active, but it had been at a certain point while we were there. And so that was what was most likely causing our allergic reactions and literal physical body aches and so many other things. And I had to, kind of negotiate my way out of the lease and, other things, because it was something that was a big deal. And when it was finally brought to the attention that there was black mold in the apartment, even though it wasn't active, it wasn't spreading through the air, it had been at one point. And the remnants of that, which you'll talk about later, is how that reacts when people try and treat it and they don't treat it properly. Even though it wasn't airborne and it wasn't a long-lasting effect after that, at some point it had been, and it affected us.
And it takes very little for it to reactivate.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people don't realize, just the right conditions. And we'll talk about that a little bit later.
So you guys don't do the testing. Y'all go out, and what do you do?
We do a visual test, literally looking for it in those areas. If there is... all we really have to look for, A, is the growth, B, is its spread. Mold has to have the right conditions. It's literally just moisture, something for it to grow off of, any natural source, and then warm air. So with those conditions that are obvious in our area in the south, if there's not enough kind of circulation or that kind of thing, and it literally just creates like an incubator for it, and that's how it starts to breed.
Do y'all have to cut sheetrock sometimes to locate it and stuff?
Yes, we actually had an office building here recently that I found the location of a leak that was occurring literally in a windowsill, very, very small, minor leak. Because the sealant had come through. And sure enough, it had been a slow leak, and it created it in the wall. You could see it at the baseboards, and we had to cut out the wall in order to find it. Yeah, and then y'all aren't responsible for fixing that. Nope. They would have to outsource someone else to come along and then refix that. Whatever you had to do to get to it. Because your job is to find the mold, whatever you got to do to get to that. But then... getting it back fixed isn't your job. And then we treat, like I said, we find it, we treat it, but we don't put things back. Do insurance companies cover mold? It depends. Mold damage? It depends. We don't do insurance claims. But it just depends on the nature of it, of how it happened and what it is, and how your insurance is what's covered on your policy. Okay. So check your policies. Okay. So I always say it's worth it as an ask. Depending on if it's covered or not. Mm-hmm. Many insurance companies will just pay out, and then we can then come take care of it. Okay. But we don't do claims directly through with the insurance companies. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to do as a realtor, and that's part of what this show is and what having people like Tricia on, the point of this is for me to become as aware as possible so that when I am your realtor, I am guiding you through the process with as much knowledge about this as possible. But I would encourage you to reach out to Tricia, to the Mold Man, give them a call and let them take care of you. They have expertise and knowledge even above and beyond what we're going to talk about in this show. And if there's a question about whether there is mold in your home, if there's a question about, if you have water or moisture damage, like Tricia mentioned, and you need to have your home inspected to even see if there's even any there. If you need the type of mold that you have tested, that's a different thing. We'll talk about the testing at the end. But I really would encourage you to take a reach out to them. The number is 678-227-9763. That's also, if you're listening on Facebook Live right now, the information is in the description.
So just on that note, when we come back, we're going to talk about the different types of molds, what you can look for in your home. We'll talk a little bit more about misconceptions about mold, how you can misinterpret what you're seeing. You might think that it's a bad mold or it's a toxic mold, and it really isn't. We'll go into the differences between mildew and mold and how mold can affect your body, because that's a big deal. So we are going to take just a short break for our first commercial, and we will return. It's WQEE 99.1 FM with the At Home at Allison show.
Buying or selling a house and the inspection has come back with mold? Call the Mold Man, specializing in crawl space and interior mold remediation and encapsulation since 2019. The Mold Man helps realtors get to the closing table by offering a pay-at-closing program. Visit our website, themoldmanllc.com, to schedule a quote or give us a call at 678-227-9763.
It's WQEE 99.1 FM. Welcome back to the At Home with Allison show. I am your host, Allison, and I have Tricia from the Mold Man here with us. We talked a little bit about what the Mold Man is and their incredible company that they have and all the services they offer. But now we're going to go into the mold itself. We're going to talk about it. So let's jump into mold types. What types of mold do we got? What do they look like? What do they do to us?
So there's three different types of mold. The first is allergenic, and there's pathogenic, and there's toxic.
Okay.
The allergenic molds affect people who have certain allergies or even asthma. And so when people are allergic with these, with these sensitivities, are exposed to it, they have a hypersensitive reaction. So it can result in an inflammatory response and even the respiratory system. So the breathing, like you said, you're coughing, and that kind of thing starts happening.
Right.
Surprisingly enough, up to 30% of the population are susceptible to mold and other allergens. I am the type of person, I walk through, I can literally open up a crawl space or walk into a space. I'm highly allergic to mold, and I can sense it. It's like a spidey sense. It comes up my neck.
Yeah.
Like it's so funny. I smell
but
it,
some people don't react.
Correct.
At all.
Correct.
I guess it's kind of like bed bugs. Like if you get bit or fleas or something, some people react to them, some don't. Same thing with mold.
Yeah. And actually, I heard from another specialist. He said a lot of the people that have these allergic reactions to them have had a major interaction with it at one point. And I think I stem mine back to when I was working in a hotel early in my career, and I remember there being literally spots of black in my office when I pulled back the wallpaper.
Oh, wow.
So it could have been, because I grew up in the desert of Southern California. It was dry. We had no mold.
Wow.
It was dry. So my first interaction with mold was in that hotel.
So mold is like regional. Mm-hmm. It's not even in everywhere.
No.
So there's not mold in Southern California.
Yeah, it's usually in the south. The south where it's wet and hot.
Okay, so like tropical
weather.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people either up north, they don't get it. We don't get it we didn't get it in California.
Wow.
So that one instance that I finally was exposed to it, I think really then set the tone for me then to be allergic to it.
Right.
To the point, like I said, that I could feel it. I know it. It's crazy.
Okay.
So that's allergenic. Next is pathogenic. So this is those types of molds that can create infections or diseases. So most healthy individuals with their immune system in good shape can fight those off. But then some people that have compromised or weakened immune systems may then also, that can hurt them, right? And also almost lead to death in some cases.
Let's go into that a little bit more. So we have allergenic.
Mm-hmm. It's like having an allergy to it.
Okay. And then pathogenic.
Mm-hmm. That will then hurt people that either infants or elderly people that have weakened immune systems.
Okay.
So it affects their immune system.
Okay. And like the same type of mold could be both of these things. So if you have allergies or you're already susceptible to that sort of thing, mold comes along and enhances those symptoms or adds to it. If it becomes pathogenic, then it's affecting specific like age groups or compromised?
The compromised immune system.
Compromised immune systems. Okay.
Yep.
That's
and then the
interesting.
last one is toxic molds. Those produce mycotoxins, poisonous chemicals that are dangerous to humans. Unlike the allergenic and pathogenic molds, toxic molds intentionally harm other living things. And some of those deadly chemicals on the planet, like mycotoxins, they're found both in mold and in mold spores. And people can be exposed to them via ingestion, skin contact, and inhalation. So those lead to temporary irritation or even long-term illnesses, depending on the individual.
Okay.
So most people, I want to tell you about the misconceptions. Many people think that bleach kills mold, but it doesn't. The particles of bleach are too large to penetrate the mold spores, and instead it bleaches the spores. So we think it's being taken care of, but it doesn't actually fix the problem.
Okay.
So that's why it is important to have professionals come out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think, what's the difference between mildew and mold? The terminology can be very confusing. Mildew refers to specific types of fungus, including some types of mold, but the term mildew is often used generally to refer to mold that it has flat growth. Mm-hmm. So molds that include all species of fungi that grow are called hyphae. Hyphae are really cool.
Hyphae?
Hyphae. They literally look like trees. I'm the type of person that says mold looks so pretty.
Well, there's people that I've seen shows like about fungi. Fungi? Is it fungi? Mm-hmm. Either way you want to say it.
Yeah.
I've seen shows, there's even some on like Netflix and Amazon Prime and other things like that people really go into entire careers where they're just studying mold. Mm-hmm. And that's what, or fungi or mushrooms mm-hmm. or whatever it is. It actually is something that people can be very, intrigued by, and that's interesting.
Yeah, they're very beautiful. There's different types. Andrew's the expert on the mold. He can name them. He can tell you all of them. There are a lot of really scientific words that sometimes I can't pronounce. Yeah. But it's really fun to see the different kinds of growth that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've talked about how it can affect your body. You've explained it early on. People with signs of a cold kind of thing. You have your breathing problems, right? Itchiness, like I said, that I get. So it can be topical or internal that it can affect you. And there's literally people that it can make them severely ill. Like I said, the pathogenic, where it gets in your blood system and that sort of thing.
So for me, it was interesting to see, and my boyfriend was living with us at the time too. So it was interesting because my sister, she was having all of the really, physical, like gastrointestinal, mm-hmm. Even like skin stuff. She would get these little red things on her skin, and it looked so unusual. Even when she went to the dermatologist, they're like, I don't know what that is. And it's interesting because every person reacts differently and has a different, like I said, for me, I just would wake up in the morning and I would have it's not like a sore throat as in you're sick. It's like an itchy, dry, raspy mm-hmm. in the back of your throat type thing. And my nostrils would burn. But now that I know that, since I show so many homes and I go into so many houses, when I walk in and my nose starts burning in this, nasal passage area, I immediately know that it may not always be mold, because it could be, just pets. This is something that we run into. I was going to say pets. Some people manage their pets more than others, and then there's rebel pets that it doesn't matter what you teach them, they're still going to do their own thing, and they may, leave their scent throughout the house. But it's not always. But now for me, it's like if there's no sign of pets, and I walk in and I'm immediately having some sort of allergic reaction or some sort of burning sensation, that's almost a sign for me, since I've been through that experience now, how to react to it. And then my boyfriend, he would wake up with a little itchy throat too, but while he lived with us, he got sick like 5 times mm-hmm. within 3 or 4 months.
That's it. compromising the immune system.
Absolutely. He got caught up and was like, something is going on with me because I shouldn't be getting sick this much. I've never been this sick this much in my life. Matter of fact, I haven't been sick in like 3 years until I was here. And so I was like, okay, so that made more sense to me as we were finding out about testing the mold, and our symptoms did stop. And thankfully, it was because we had asked the apartment to come out, and when they came out, they did do something that caused it to stop, and so it was no longer airborne, and so eventually it did recede, but then I could tell that it was coming back, and that was when we were like, okay, we just got to go ahead and get out of here in case this does come back airborne, and then we're all
because it does, as long-term exposure can hurt somebody to the sense that it does start to hurt their immune system.
Right.
It does start to affect gastrointestinal, like you said. So it's sometimes some people it's just a scratchy throat. Others, I get burning eyes. My eyes start to burn.
That's interesting to me.
And then I get that, like I said, the hives that go up my neck, the kind of things start to happen.
Yeah.
And that itchy throat. We do use we full suit up with full face mask and the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
There's sometimes that I'm like, okay, this one won't be bad. And I go in with just like an N95 mask and my eyes exposed. I now have goggles because I did that early on.
So that's your uniform, goggles,
full Tyvek suit, full mask, so that I'm not exposed to it. Gloves, the whole 9 yards, so that I don't even if it's airborne in the space, it could affect me. Not touching it.
If it's a pathogenic, if it affects you pathogenically, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, and you're exposed to it for long periods of time. So like if you're a homeowner, right, and you're living in this space for a long time, you plan to live in it a long time, these things can develop into serious, is cancer an option eventually, or...
who knows? The studies aren't, there 50% of the homes in the South have mold in them. To some degree.
Okay.
Every home pretty much has mold in it.
It's just what type,
correct,
what volume, whether it's
correct,
toxic or not.
Correct.
And then it also depends on you, whether you react. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So,
those questions come up. What do I do? If you're a renter, I always recommend get a test. Get an airborne air quality test.
Yeah.
And also get a surface area test. The other thing is, if you are a homeowner and you have those questions, give us a call. You can also go to our website, themolemanllc.com. We've got a lot of information there. If you just want to get educated, go to our website, take a look at the information, because that will help you make a decision. We want you to definitely have a healthy family, have a healthy home.
Absolutely.
Because it will affect the structure of your home. It'll affect your health most of all. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that every home is healthy.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I cannot tell you guys, just bouncing off of that, how important it is to stay on top of this. If you have any suspicion whatsoever about mold being in your home, give them a call. Research on their website, do whatever you got to do to make sure that this doesn't become costly for you financially and physically, because it definitely it can be serious. So with that in mind, we're going to take another quick break for our property of the week. It's one of my listings in Griffin. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about how mold comes about, different seasons, different times of the year, when you need to look out for it. We'll talk about some things that you can do to help prevent it, and then some do's and do nots as far as trying to treat it yourself and how mold can react if you treat it improperly. So, when we come back, we'll talk about it all. It's WQEE 99.1 FM.
This week's property of the week is located at 688 Cheatham Road in Griffin, Georgia. This 32.14-acre tract is waiting to find its new owner. This property features a 3-bed, 2-bath home built in 1890. An 18 by 28 utility shed ran with its own power and water, fencing for horses and other livestock, and timber such as pine, oak, and pecan trees. Call 678-634-9770 for more information.
It's WQEE 99.1 FM. This is the At Home with Allison show, and I am your host, Allison Waters, a local realtor and member of the Coweta County community, which I'm very proud to be, by the way. I'm very proud to be a member of the Coweta County community. I love it here. So we are back with the Mold Man. We have Tricia here with us, and we're getting into some good stuff here. Very important stuff about mold, how you can prevent it in your home, what mold is, how serious it can be. So let's talk a little bit. Mold is more prominent during certain times of the year. Yes, we've found out that it's more prominent in tropical areas. It may not even exist in other areas of the world or even the country, which is extremely interesting to me. So let's talk. So what do we have seasonally? When should we really be paying attention?
So the basis of it is water, or mold needs water and heat to grow. So when do we have the hottest months of the year here in the South?
The summer, June, July, August.
Yeah, so because of that, it usually, and sometimes will go dormant and not affect your home because you're heating it, but the moisture's not there.
Right.
So when there's moisture and heat, it will grow.
Okay.
So it kind of, like I said, kind of goes dormant during the winter months. That doesn't mean it's not there. It's there, but it's just not active.
Okay.
So keep that in mind. So that's why we're kind of slow usually in the winter months.
Oh, really?
Except for when we get our realtor partners that reach out to us and say the home inspection came back and, they're trying to sell a home and they've got that. So they reach out to us for that.
Yeah.
But the homeowners that are looking to find, solutions to their problems that we talked about earlier, usually don't contact us until the summer months when it starts to get really bad. That smell comes up, kind of almost smells like pet urine in some cases.
Okay.
That smell that you've experienced in a home. You see water spots start to happen. You see the mold growing. You see all sorts of things start to occur because basically that incubation process happens.
Yeah, and this is naturally without like a pipe busting or without a roof leaking. This is just in general during moisture times of the year.
So a lot of the problems exist, as you mentioned. Either you have somewhat of a major catastrophe in your home. You have a flood, pipe burst, that sort of thing.
Sure.
I always say the first thing you need to do is call a restoration company to get out and get it dried out.
Okay.
Get it dried out. That will help prevent, most definitely, the situation happening. If you leave it alone in the summer month, guess what's going to happen? It's going to continue to grow and incubate. The other thing, too, is leaks in your roof. We've had a lot of storms here in the South recently. You don't necessarily see that branch that's hit the top of your roof.
Yeah.
But it's always good to get those checked. I've also seen a lot of flashing failing around the pipes, and even the chimney cap isn't on properly. It's gotten blown. Those kinds of things are happening. That the water then penetrates and seeps all the way down. You don't see it in the house, but by God, we're going to see it in the crawl space.
Well, I was going to say one of the worst cases of mold that I have seen in a home was directly around the chimney, and it was coming in. That was the problem, is that the flashing either had slid off or wasn't there. I don't remember the exact reason, but the water had been coming in around the sides of the chimney and coming in, and around the fireplace on the inside of the home is where the mold actually was spreading on the walls, because the water's coming down in there. It's not properly drying, and then the mold is able to grow from there.
Yeah, because that's usually an exterior wall. We see a lot of them flashing around windows, sealing around windows aren't happening. Then in the summer months, you've got the cold air in the house and the hot air outside, and you have that moisture, and you're going to start to see that mold on the wall right in that area, because it just incubates it.
Yeah.
We see them a lot of time in bathrooms too, because bathrooms, if you're not doing the proper circulation, your exhaust vent isn't happening, you'll get the sweat on the wall happening again, and then there's mold and mildew that'll happen on the drywall in the bathroom.
So let's talk about that, because that's actually that's probably the most common thing that I see is improper ventilation in the bathroom. So when someone sees mold or mildew, whatever it is, on the ceiling, is that should they be worried about that?
Typically, that's a topical situation.
Okay,
and that can be cleaned off with, making sure you're wiping it down. But the way to prevent it is to make sure that you have the proper ventilation. Please, here in the South, do not leave your fan off in your bathroom, because it's necessary for that moist air to leave.
Okay.
Like I said, because you've got a cold air vent coming in. I see a lot of them. I see a lot of older homes where the vents in the bathroom are on the floor, and they've put something in front of them and they've closed them off. So it's constantly just that warm air
being circulated.
And then it'll come underneath the door, and you'll see it on the back side of the door where the mold starts.
Okay.
So prevention is the key on that. It doesn't always mean that you have a mold situation in the bathroom,
right.
But to the extreme of it, if you're seeing black streaks or circles, we've got to take and completely gut it down to the studs.
So if mold can't turn into mildew can't turn into mold, right? They're two different things completely. Mm-hmm. Okay. So they're not similar at all. So
yeah, a lot of the times it's just that mildew that you get in your shower, that kind of thing, wiping it down and keeping control of it. But the key is literally making sure that you are keeping that fan and that circulation on in the bathroom.
What do you wipe it down with?
Your standard cleaning supplies.
Okay, just like cleaning supplies. I've heard bleach wipe.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's, just staying on top of it.
But some sort of chemical.
But there will be, and that's one of the things too, we kind of talk about, bleach doesn't do the whole job if you have a severe mold issue.
Okay.
Now, a lot of those are just mildew situations that are happening. There is also, you do not know this, a mold, what was it called? A paint that helps reduce mold that you can put in your bathroom as well.
Okay.
It's like a mold fighting paint.
Interesting.
That can be, it's out there on the market as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So if you have a probably that happening a lot in the bathroom, that would make sense to use that.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be an older home either. I mean, the mold could be growing in a newer home, even a new construction. If we think about that, if somehow while the home was being built, it wasn't properly dried, there was rain, there was some sort of thing. So just because you have a newer home doesn't mean that this isn't a concern.
Yeah, I saw a house literally that that happened in the basement. They didn't have any circulation going on in the basement. They built it during the rainy season, put it up, and then they had intrusion from the foundation walls.
Wow.
And literally they had just put the drywall up, and in a week's time without any circulation, and guess what? All the walls had mold on them. They had to pull them all back down.
Wow.
Yeah, brand new. Yeah.
So does lining, so going back to this crawl space, because you love to get into those a lot, does having the water lining in the bottom prevent that?
The encapsulation is very important in a crawl space because it reduces the moisture.
Okay.
And the difference between a vapor barrier and an encapsulation. A vapor barrier is just a thin plastic that you're going to put down, and it's only required to have at least just 70% of the flooring underneath your house for a vapor barrier.
Okay.
You're not completely covered.
Okay.
Because if we look on the water lines of the foundation, it could be up to 2 feet where the water, like the moisture level is.
Oh,
and
wow.
we see a white line, and that's called an efflorescence line. We see that efflorescence line, we're going to go above that to make sure that all that moisture that's happening, and in some houses we go all the way up
the wall.
Up the wall.
Okay.
Depending on where that water line is hitting to reduce that moisture, so you're not getting it underneath your house.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, and this is something that I heard, and I don't know fully how accurate this is, but I've heard that if let's say it is a really toxic type of mold, right? Like it's black mold or something, and let's say you see it, on a wall or in a certain area, and you try to touch
Guess what?
it.
Now it's become airborne.
Okay, so how long so essentially if you go to try to wipe this down or do something with it, it doesn't, it's almost
it tries to produce, so it goes airborne, and guess what? Now you've got it airborne in your house, and it may show up somewhere else. That's what a lot of people don't realize is you may have mold in your crawl space, and you think, oh, well, it's protected because I have the floor. You have something that opens up. Next thing you know, it's in your HVAC unit, it's in your ductwork, it's in your house.
Okay.
So that's what a lot of people don't realize.
And you also bring in mold in your home all the time, in and out. So when you're out and about, your places, you're picking up, different types of mold particles, and you may bring them into your home. So this goes back to the testing thing that I have a little bit of experience with, is that there's like surface testing where, you can swipe a surface. And I think our problem with us freaking out so bad at first was that we had a test done that you wipe like the dust off of a certain area, right? You don't wipe the mold itself to test if it's mold, and you swipe somewhere else. And not the issue with that is that there is going to be high mold counts in the dust because you're bringing in all types of stuff from outside. That doesn't necessarily mean because you find a specific type of mold in the dust that it's actually active in your home. So the type of testing, from my knowledge, that you really want to have is either surface testing directly on that mold to see what type of mold it is, or B, air quality testing, which is a little different, and they actually take particles of the air
inside and outside,
and they compare it, because there's natural molds in the air in our climate, based on where we're at in the world, apparently now that I've learned that fact.
Educated.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. But in the air that you actually have to collect, and that air will tell you in comparison to the air outside, well, just because this mold is inside, if it's outside too, then you're okay. There's no danger because you're out and about and bringing that in anyway. It's when the mold count is either higher or different, or something that's inside that's not outside, is when it becomes problematic, to my knowledge.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, so as far as other ways for prevention, obviously we've talked about if there's a roof leak or something like that, and getting that addressed. Flooding is another huge one. Really, anytime there's
any kind of plumbing issue. I've seen a lot of houses lately that they've had a slow leak underneath their bathroom sink for a long period of time. And so it's created, you open up and your eyes water. It's one of those things. So
does mold grow on specific surface? Is there any surface that mold doesn't grow on?
Anything that's a porous surface, or even I forget the word, but it's an animal source of some sort.
Like organism.
Organic. There you go. Yeah. Any organic material, it will grow on.
Okay.
So that's when a lot of the times when we see it underneath houses, and the joists, and there's knots in the joist.
Yeah.
That's where sap will concentrate. So a lot of the times the mold will go to that because that's an organic source, because it will retains water, and then it's the sugars in it, and it'll attach to that. So it's a lot of fun because it'll turn orange. It's fun to see.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, any organic source. I went into a house that had they had a flood in the house, and the homeowners were gone for a month. Did not realize that it was going on in their basement. You could see like a light film on all of the wood, but what was really interesting was the leather. They had a few pieces of leather jackets that were motorcyclists that had leather jackets that were covered in mold. Think of it. What is a leather jacket made out of? Cowhide.
Oh.
An organic material.
Makes sense.
So it infiltrated that and lived off of that organism because it's an organic material.
Wow. So anytime that there's moisture at all, you want to make sure that you're getting it dried out, and that you're not trying to treat stuff yourself, unless, like you said, it's like mildew in a bathroom. Mildew is normally like what, green, white? Like what is it?
It's a film. It's a yellow or a clearish film.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
So mildew, obviously that's a little different, but just making sure that you're not trying to treat it yourself. if it actually
becomes
you really
black
just need it
or
inspected.
black or circles, or
yeah,
it's a pungent smell other
Right.
than that typical it's musty smell. A lot of times it smells like pet urine, that kind of thing. Then that's when you want to get some help with it.
Okay.
Yeah, don't. I trust. I've had a couple of clients that I went out to, and I could tell they tried to spray bleach underneath their house in their crawl space.
Oh no.
Tried. And it's very toxic.
Yeah.
They don't realize even with it concentrated. Our chemicals are non-toxic. You can actually drink them. They penetrate the wood. They penetrate the mold. You can be in your house at the time that we're treating it.
Okay.
So it doesn't hurt animals or your family or anything like that.
Okay.
But it then will continue to work after we leave because it penetrates the wood and gets into the mold, where, as I talked earlier, bleach just bleaches it.
Sure.
It doesn't actually kill it. That's the difference of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, very interesting. Lots of knowledge, learning over here, guys. We're going to take one more break, and we're going to come back for our final segment where we'll talk about the difference between remediation and an inspection, which is very different, actually treating the mold versus inspecting the mold. We'll talk about maybe the craziest mold experience Tricia's ever had, the craziest thing she's ever seen, because I can imagine it's pretty wild. I could not imagine going under people's houses all the time. But we'll go a little bit more into that when we return. This is the At Home with Allison show, and we are on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Have you been considering a career in real estate? At Keller Williams Realty Atlanta Partners, we prepare you to excel in your real estate career by providing award-winning training, family-based culture, and lead generation tools to build a business that lasts. If you're interested in learning about our pre-licensed school or how to get started, call 678-634-9770 or visit our website, atlantapartnersrealestateschool.com today.
We are back. It's WQEE 99.1 FM. This is Allison with the At Home with Allison show. Tricia here from the Mold Man. God, we have learned some really good stuff throughout this, and I really hope that you guys have tuned in and really gotten some of the knowledge here, because like we've talked about, mold is just, it's a big deal. It's very costly physically, financially. There's lots of things that we just are not aware of, and it could be something that you regret not learning more about. So what the Mold Man specializes in is doing the inspection part, right? And there's remediation, which is the actual treatment, which you would need a separate company for. So let's talk about the differences in that, like what your inspection looks like versus what they're going to come in and do.
So we do a visual inspection because we concentrate on crawl spaces, the mold remediation in crawl spaces, and then also in attics and basements. We do interior work as well. However, because the inspection with the air quality, or even finding what kind of toxic molds are in your home, you have to take a sample of that and send it back to a lab. So we don't do that part of it. So if there's any that kind of concern, I always say, reach out to a company that can take care of that for you.
Right.
Ours is visual. We know that it's going to hurt the structural integrity of your home. That's what we do. We partner up with realtors so that we can help you all get to the closing table a lot faster, and use that in your negotiations. We're also here to protect the family and make sure that our investment is well taken care of. Because if you don't take care of the mold, as I mentioned, it could eat away. I've seen it happen. It literally has eaten away at the floor joists and the subfloor of homes to where it buckled. It buckled up the flooring and created a bad environment for the people that were living in it. So ours is literally just a visual inspection. If you do want additional samplings and that kind of thing, then you can reach out to professionals. And the reason why we don't do that is because then it ends up being an integrity thing.
Okay.
Because we can't say, oh yeah, we're here to take away the mold that's here that we tested. It's better to have it from somebody else that way.
So this is a weird question. Can mold grow on the outside of the home?
That's mostly, yes, it can, but we don't take care of that. A lot of that is just be sprayed off. Yeah, that can be sprayed off most of the time. Mold and mildew that you see on the outside of the home.
But is that as dangerous to it structurally?
That is natural.
Okay.
How many people see on the north side of their roofs with mold and mildew on the outside of the house?
Yeah.
It's going to happen any north side because why? Do you know why? That's always on the north side? Because the north side gets the least amount of sunlight.
Oh, okay.
Hikers and campers know this. That's how they find out where north is in the woods, is because that's where the mold grows. Because it gets the least, with the way the sun rises and sets and the natural curve, the north side of everything doesn't get as much sun.
Okay. So it's better liability wise. Y'all just go in, look at everything, cut things open.
No, we don't cut things open until we have permission to do the work.
Unless there's permission. She'll ask before she starts cutting your wall open. Yeah. But there may be some extra steps that you'll have to take to actually get to where you need to make sure that you're...
And that's the next step, is the remediation part. We literally come in, we give you a quote, we tell you what kind of work we're going to do, we're going to tell you what we're going to tear apart if we need to tear apart something.
Okay.
Then we come back out, and then the remediation part is literally, if abatement and remediation are sometimes used within the same wording, it's abatement is retracting, like getting rid of, right?
Okay.
Remediation is the act of controlling it. So we come in to help control and remediate, get rid of, abate, and take care of the situation so that it doesn't compound and happen again.
Right.
Because you'll find some companies will come out and either do an encapsulation, but they won't treat the mold, or they'll have some places that'll come out and treat the mold, but then they won't treat and remediate the water intrusion. Remember, what are the things that mold needs to grow? Heat and moisture.
Water. Yeah.
So we got to get rid of that moisture.
So I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, you can tell me this as well, I've heard that if the mold is really airborne and it's bad enough in your home that it gets into your furniture, it gets into your rugs, it gets into your clothes. Now you can wash your clothes. Yep. You could have your couch cleaned potentially. But there may be a very good chance that if you let the mold get bad enough, that not only are you paying thousands and thousands of dollars to get it treated, you may have to throw your furniture away.
Yes.
So that's true.
That actually happened in a couple of homes that we went out to see after we had the tornadoes.
Oh.
And then they, waiting for the insurance to approve things, they were closed up, no airflow in them. Every surface in that home had mold on it. Every surface.
Wow.
So furniture, family heirlooms, we were able to treat as much as possible, let clients know, hey, we're going to treat this the best that we can because I know this is really valuable to you. However, these things we recommend that you throw away. I'm seeing a lot of that where, it's a family home, they haven't been in it a while, it sits without air, airflow, air conditioning on, power out, that kind of thing, and it literally takes over. It's a natural source, it starts to take over anything that's organic. And it's been really, really interesting to see that.
And you may not even be able to see that doing your part of the job.
Correct.
You may not even be able to see that it's in the furniture or on the furniture or whatever. That's when you would need to have what's called a surface test done, where they would come in and test that piece of furniture to see if it. I've even heard that it gets into your mattress. Your bed mattress. You may have to have that thrown out as well.
But I also want to not to scare everyone, because our air conditioning units here in the South are made to extract the moisture in the air.
Okay.
It's really funny because my sister came to visit me this last summer from California, and she's like, why do you keep your thermostat at 65 degrees? And then it finally dawned on her. Our air conditioning units act as a dehumidifier. So it pulls the moisture out of the air in your house. So you have to make it cooler to pull that moisture out. She's used to it being like 78 degrees because it's dry.
Right.
And 78 feels great when it's dry. But here we had to do it, make it literally colder in order to extract that moisture.
So it would have to be really bad. It would have to be really bad for it to affect your furniture.
Because you are bringing in, if you had a roof leak, if you're having the fact that you have you don't have a moisture barrier underneath your crawl space, and you've had some, that even the groundwater or the substructure has been affected. it's got to be pretty bad for that kind of stuff to start affecting your furniture and your belongings, because I see it literally when houses have been sitting for years without any kind of air conditioning or anything like that, because it just incubates and starts happening and it grows. And it's slime on the walls, all the way up the walls. I try not to touch anything because it's always it's there. Yeah,
and you have to be really careful not to get it on you.
Yeah.
So what if you got black mold on your shirt and you go home? Is it in your house now, or does it die?
The thing is, as long as you aren't, the conditions in your home are well, meaning it's dry. That's the big thing.
And not a lot of moisture.
Not a lot of moisture. So your air conditioning units and them, talking with your HVAC guy to make sure that was being pulled out.
Dehumidifiers are recommended for basements, is because a lot of the time the basements doesn't have the HVAC system. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense.
Especially because the basements have those exterior foundation walls.
Right.
And those will retain water. And it's so funny. This one thing I didn't talk about. Check your gutters, people. Your gutters.
Oh, yeah.
If your gutters are backed up, water's going to be dripping off in the wrong places and into corners, and then the next thing you know, it's in your crawl space or even in your basements.
Yeah.
And those start to affect the basement walls, and they just kind of sweat. They've got that moisture, and as long as that moisture is going on, then in the summer months, those conditions start to happen, and you don't have that circulation in a basement. That's when it starts to continue to happen.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, we come in, we could do a basement waterproofing. To put in layman's terms, we basically build a trench for the water to go into, and we pump it out.
Right.
That's as easy as it gets.
Okay. Wow.
Because those retaining walls that are in the interior of the basement are holding that water, and after a while, it's going to start seeping in, so we might as well figure it out. We had a house Andrew worked on a few weeks ago that I understand is a family home, and they've been the kitchen used to be where the basement is now, and they used to be in 1.5 feet of water every time it rained in the kitchen kind of thing. Now it's a storage unit. Andrew opened up the retaining wall, and it I swear it peed like you see in the old cartoons where there's one little hole from a dam.
Yes.
And the dam starts to break kind of thing. It peed for 3 days because there was that much water being held out on the side of that.
Oh, wow.
That ended up, that we built that trench, put in a sub pump, and pumped it out.
Interesting.
3 days it took that water to go away.
Yeah, so you have no idea how much water is building up in and around your house, guys.
And like I said, it starts sometimes with your gutters. If the gutters aren't
draining
properly or they're away from the wall or that sort of thing, it's coming down the side of your house and into your crawl space in the basement.
Makes so much sense.
I love trying to figure out where the water's coming from.
It's like a challenge.
That's that challenge and that mystery, and I talked about the things that I like about going into my job and it being different every day, because I'd like to figure out why things are happening. What are they coming in from? Why is this water coming here? And that's the one thing I said about integrity. We want to resolve the problem. We're just not here to fix the mold.
Right.
Andrew's really, really adamant about making sure that, hey, if you have mold, that means there's moisture. And how are we going to cut that moisture? And what are we going to do to make that and resolve it for you?
Yeah. So what is the crazy, what's the worst or craziest mold experience that you've had? Because, I love telling my funny realtor stories because I just want people to know that, we deal with crazy stuff. We love it, but it's it's just bizarre when you're working with so many people and you're going in so many homes, the things that you just see sometimes, it's just oh my gosh, this is crazy. So what's the most memorable, I guess, experience that you've had?
So one of the first houses that I went with Andrew crawled underneath. It was a 120-year-old house.
Okay.
It had some additions to it. It actually had a vapor barrier in it. And it wasn't really installed properly because a vapor barrier just does the floor. It doesn't go up the walls.
Sure.
And I have a photo of it. I think what I'll do is I'll share the photo in the comments later.
Okay.
Of this thing. I turned to it and I asked Andrew, what is that dead thing? Thinking it was an animal. He goes, no, that actually is a mushroom. And it was so huge. It was about this big and it was shaped like a huge clamshell. Those deep, you know, clamshells that you see. It was that big, and he said it started with one little spore about that big that came out in between the bricks of the support structure, and it literally came out. You could see it came out and down and created this huge.
So are you like grossed out or freaked out?
It stunk way
Oh,
bad.
really?
Oh, yeah. I thought it was a dead thing. It stunk.
So it had a really strong smell.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, even through the mask.
And so you've seen other dead things. You saw snake skins.
Snake skins. I've seen dead chipmunks and squirrels. Luckily, like I said, everything has been dead. Completely.
Nothing's jumped out at you quite yet.
Not yet. It will happen, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The other thing was a house that I went under. I told you earlier about the chimney and it coming down because they had closed off the chimney, and the cap had been compromised.
Right.
So it had been, and it literally buckled the floor open. That one was really cool because it was not just mold, but fungus and different kinds throughout that crawl space. It was just beautiful. I'd say it's beautiful. You'd probably think it was really crazy. But there was almost looked like a foam bedding had just rolled out.
Right.
So that was really cool because it was something totally different.
Yeah.
Underneath another house, I saw 4 different types of mushrooms growing underneath the house. 4 different kinds.
Oh.
1, 2, 3, 4 different kinds of mushrooms. I take pictures of all these things. You'll have to see our Facebook page.
Yeah,
Old Man.
absolutely. Share the page in the comments.
I'll post random things that I see that are a lot of fun. That's
Share
totally different. It's Tricia's fun pick of the week of things that are cool and fun finds.
So going from that, what's the biggest takeaway for you from this job? Like, what do you enjoy most about it?
I enjoy helping people. I personally find my goal every day is to find value, to bring value to people's lives. And if I can educate them and help them, because even hearing your story about you being in contact with mold and how it affected your family and your life,
right?
I want to do that too. And the fact that I also like educating and teaching people.
Sure.
That's my big thing. The customer focus is all about who it is, and if I can help take care of somebody and help them A, sell their home, B, have a happier and healthier life and family, it's who I want to be.
Yeah.
And I take that every day. I like to bring value to people's lives. And the fact that this is different every day too.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, it's unreal. I went out to 5 different houses yesterday. 5 different occurrences.
Yeah.
Everything was different in every single one of them, and it challenges me, and I think it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I get to crawl under houses for fun.
And I can say that, Tricia and I have personal, relationship. We've known each other before this for a little while now, and we've worked with charity stuff together, and we did leadership training together. So I know firsthand that Tricia is an amazing person, and she will really care about you, and she will really care about your family, and she will definitely make sure to take care of you. So I highly recommend Tricia and the Mold Man. If you guys have any doubt or questions, please give them a call. We will make sure to share the number, website, and everything in the comments. If you're on the Facebook page, Allison Waters Realtor is where we will be streaming these shows live every single week, and then we will air them on Mondays at 10 a.m. So please listen out on Monday. And thank you so much, Tricia, for being here. And that's the show today, guys. Really look forward to more to come and all the awesome, incredible people that are going to be on this show. It's such a blessing being here, such a blessing being able to share knowledge and insight and just learn cool stuff. I'm learning cool stuff every day with this, and it's really cool to be able to share. So we will see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in. It's the At Home with Allison show on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Got mold? Call the Mold Man. Specializing in crawl space and interior mold remediation, encapsulations, and basement waterproofing since 2019. The Mold Man team takes pride in keeping your family healthy and your home mold-free. Visit our website, themoldmanllc.com, to schedule a quote or give us a call at 678-227-9763.
At Kroger, shopping with pickup and delivery is the same as shopping in-store. Same low prices, deals, and rewards on the same high-quality items. It's one small click for groceries, one big win for busy families everywhere. Start your cart today at Kroger.com. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Save big on your favorites with the Buy 5 or More, Save $1 each sale. Simply buy 5 or more participating items and save $1 each with your card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.